Korean Mafia boss was given 10 seconds to live until a homeless kid cut off his tongue. 10 seconds. That is the exact amount of time it takes for a kingdom to crumble into the dirt. Don Lorenzo, a man whose name once curdled blood from Palermo to New York, was staring down the black, hollow eye of a suppressed pistol. The countdown was audible, a cruel ticking from a man who used to be his protege. 9, 8, 7. The air tasted like copper and cold rain, but the universe doesn't follow the scripts written by men in silk suits. Just as the hammer began its final lethal arc, a shadow crawled out from the dumpster, a jagged skeletal blur of a human being. A homeless boy, no older than 12, lunged with a rusted piece of sheet metal. He didn't aim for the gunman, he aimed for the Don. In one sickening, wet motion, the boy sliced through the boss's jaw and took his tongue. The gunman froze. The Don collapsed, clutching a mouth that could no longer command, bargain, or betray. The script was broken. Here is the reality you aren't ready to hear. Everything you've been taught about power is a lie. We are trapped in a societal matrix that insists hierarchy is ironclad, that the rich are protected by a suit of invisible armor, and that the bottom of the food chain is powerless. It's a control mechanism. They want you to believe that the untouchable are actually untouchable. The truth is, the system is fragile. It's a thin veneer of order painted over absolute chaos. That homeless boy wasn't a hero, and he wasn't a villain. He was a glitch. He was the variable the Matrix forgot to account for, because in our world, the poor are supposed to be invisible. If you're the kind of person who prefers the cold, hard truth over the comfortable delusions they feed the herd, then you belong in this circle. Don Lorenzo lived his entire life believing he was the architect of his own destiny. He sat at the top of a pyramid built on silence. In the Mafia, the tongue is the most dangerous weapon. It's the tool of the omerta. It's how you order a hit, how you buy a judge, and how you sell your soul. The matrix of organized crime relies on the illusion that words have weight. But when that rusted metal met Lorenzo's flesh, the illusion evaporated. Suddenly, the man who could move millions with a whisper was just a bleeding animal in a trash-strewn alley. Think about the irony. The gunman didn't fire because the scene was too grotesque, too outside the rules of a professional execution. The system stalled. We are conditioned to follow patterns. A hitman expects a plea, a prayer, or a scream. He doesn't expect a ghost from the gutter to intervene and steal the victim's ability to speak. This is where the lie falls apart. We think we are safe because we follow the rules of the game, but we forget that there are people living outside the game entirely. The homeless kid didn't care about mafia politics. He didn't care about the Don's legacy. To him, the Don was just another body in his territory. Look at your own life. You play by the rules. You work the job, you pay the bills, you respect the bosses of your own little world. Why? Because you've been programmed to believe the consequences of stepping outside the lines are fatal. You are taught that the elite possess a different kind of blood. But in that alley, the blood was the same shade of crimson. The boy proved that a single act of unpredictable violence can decapitate a god. Why did the kid do it? Some would say it was a freak accident. I say it was a systemic rejection. The Don represented the peak of a society that had failed the boy. By removing the Don's tongue, the boy didn't just save his life, he stripped him of his godhood. A boss who cannot speak cannot lead. A boss who cannot speak cannot even tell the paramedics who shot him. He was rendered as invisible as the boy who saved him. That is the ultimate paradox. The boy used the very thing that made him a social outcast, his invisibility, to strike at the heart of the machine. The gunman eventually fled into the night, spooked by the sheer randomness of the event. He was a creature of the matrix, unable to compute a variable that wasn't in the manual. And there lay Lorenzo, the lion of Long Island, reduced to a gargle of blood and salt. His empire began to dissolve the second that tongue hit the pavement. Not because he died, he didn't, but because the myth died. The myth of his invincibility, The myth that his position in the hierarchy meant anything to the cold, rusted metal of a child who had nothing to lose. You see, the Matrix thrives on your fear of loss. It keeps you in line by promising you a seat at the table if you just play along. But what happens when you realize the table is a lie? What happens when you realize that the most powerful man in the city can be undone by the most ignored child in the world? It means the walls are thinner than you think. It means the powers that be are just people in costumes, desperately hoping you don't notice how easily their tongues can be cut. This isn't just a story about a mob hit gone wrong. It's a case study in the failure of human structure. We build these elaborate systems of crime and punishment, of wealth and poverty, as if they are laws of physics. They aren't. They are suggestions. And when someone truly desperate, someone who has been chewed up and spat out by the Matrix, decides to stop suggesting and start acting, the whole world trembles. Lorenzo's 10 seconds weren't up, but the version of him that ruled the world was dead before he even hit the ground. The boy didn't just cut meat. He severed the connection between a man and his power. And in our world, once that connection is gone, you are less than a ghost. You are a warning. You are probably sitting there right now, comfortable in your chair, thinking this is just some freak occurrence, a glitch in the system. You are wrong. Dead wrong. Look at your own life for a second. Stop lying to yourself. You trade your time for paper, your silence for safety, and your identity for a sense of belonging in a structure that does not even know your name. Lorenzo was the peak of that structure. He was the gold standard of the lie. And look at him now, a pile of meat on a sidewalk, leaking the very essence he thought made him a god. If you value reality over the fairy tales they feed you, then you have found the right place to be. We do not do comfort here. The Matrix is not some digital sky or a green-tinted computer screen from a 90s movie. It is the collective agreement to pretend that some people matter more than others. It is the deep, cultural hallucination of authority. Think about it. Why does a badge have power? Why does a bank balance command respect? Because we all agree to look away from the truth, that we are all just fragile biological machines, one bad day away from obsolescence. Lorenzo forgot that. He started believing his own press. He thought he was the architect when he was just another piece of software running on a loop. But before we dive into the actual mechanics of how the system tries to patch these holes and how it might be coming for you next, you need to decide. Are you here to learn how the world actually works, or are you just looking for entertainment? Those who seek the truth, stay. Those who want a lullaby can leave. The boy did not have a plan. He had a reaction. That is what the system fears most. Spontaneity is the virus that crashes the central server. The gunman, that high-level enforcer, could not handle it. He was programmed to fight other players. He knew how to deal with rival gangs, with the police, with the IRS. He did not know how to deal with a ghost. He did not know how to deal with a variable that had no stake in the game. This is the secret power of the invisible. When you have nothing, you are the most dangerous person in the room. You are a black hole. You swallow the light of everyone around you. Lorenzo did not just lose his voice that night. He lost his gravity. People used to orbit him. Now they just see a void. A warning sign that says the floor is fake. The streets did not mourn. They recalculated. This is the cold, hard truth about power. It is never yours. You just rent it. And the rent is paid in the blood of those you have stepped on. The second you cannot pay, the locks are changed. Within 48 hours, Lorenzo's lieutenants were not looking for his shooter. They were looking for his ledger. They were looking for the keys to the vault. Loyalty? Forget it. Loyalty is a luxury for the people who are not starving. In the Matrix, loyalty is just a delay in betrayal. Look closer at the mechanics. You are waiting for a hero. You are waiting for some grand revolution to change the world. It will not happen. The revolution is not a televised event with flags and speeches. It is a kid with a sharp piece of metal and a heart full of nothing. It is the moment the ignored stop asking for permission to exist. The system can handle a riot. It can handle a war. It cannot handle a single individual who has stopped believing in the rules. That is the one thing they cannot predict. They have algorithms for your spending habits, for your political leanings, for your sexual preferences. They do not have an algorithm for the boy who just does not care anymore. Lorenzo survived the surgery, but he woke up in a world that had already moved on. His voice was gone, but his influence had vanished long before the anesthesia wore off. He was a king without a kingdom, a lion in a cage made of his own failed legacy. He spent his days watching the news, seeing his former friends shake hands with his enemies. He was a living ghost. And the boy? The boy just went back to the shadows. He did not want the crown. He did not want the money. He just wanted the machine to feel a pulse of pain. He wanted to prove that the wall could bleed. And it did. It bled until the ground was soaked and the myth was drowned. Think about the city you live in. You see the skyscrapers, you see the police cars, you see the lights, you think this is solid, this is permanent. It is not. It is a stage set. Underneath the pavement, there is a whole world of rot and silence that you choose to ignore because the alternative is too terrifying to contemplate. You choose to believe in the safety of the grid. But the grid is failing. It has been failing for decades. Every time someone like Lorenzo rises, the grid gets a little more brittle. Every time someone like that boy is pushed to the edge, the grid gets a little closer to snapping. You might think I am being cynical. You might think this is just some dark fantasy. Go outside. Look at the people you usually walk past without a second glance. The guy cleaning the windows. The woman sleeping on the bench. The kids staring at nothing. They see the cracks you do not. They see the man behind the curtain. And one day, one of them is going to decide they have seen enough. They are going to reach out and pull the curtain down. And on that day, you will realize that the only thing keeping the world together was your own willingness to believe a lie. The physics of failure are simple. A system is only as strong as its most neglected part. We focus on the top. We focus on the Lorenzos of the world, thinking they are the ones holding up the roof. They are not. They are just the ornaments. The foundation is made of the people we forget. And when the foundation decides to shift, the ornaments are the first things to shatter. Lorenzo's 10 seconds were not a fluke. They were an inevitability. He was the byproduct of a system that produces monsters and victims in equal measure, never realizing that eventually the victims become the very monsters that hunt the creators. He was silenced by the very silence he helped impose on the world. It is poetic, it is brutal, and it is the only way the cycle ever breaks. The truth is that we are living in an era of cardboard giants. We build these massive institutions and give them names that sound like they will last forever. But they are held together by spit and prayer. All it takes is one gust of wind from someone who has nothing left to lose to knock it all down. Lorenzo was not a victim of a crime. He was a victim of his own arrogance. He thought he was the one holding the leash. He never realized he was just another dog in the yard, waiting for his turn to be put down. The gunmen, the paramedics, the doctors, the lawyers, they were all just bit players in a drama that had already reached its final act. The boy was the only one who was real, because the boy was the only one who saw the Matrix for what it was, a cage with an open door that everyone was too afraid to walk through. Do not mistake the costume for the man. Do not mistake the noise for the power. Because in the end, when the lights go out and the theater is empty, we are all just meat and bone, waiting for the invisible to finally be seen. Lorenzo's tongue was the sacrifice, the boy was the priest, and the Matrix, it just kept running, looking for the next player to plug into the hole. But for those 10 seconds on that sidewalk, the simulation froze. And for the first time in his life, Lorenzo saw the world for what it actually was. Cold, dark, and utterly indifferent to his existence. That is the final verdict. You are not special. You are not safe. You are just next in line for a reality check that no amount of money or power can cancel. The walls are thinner than you think, and the shadows have started to move. Stop looking at the throne and start looking at the floor. That is where the real story is written. In blood, in salt, and in the silence of the people you think do not matter. They are the only ones who can see the exit, and they are not going to show it to you. They are just going to wait for you to trip. He is gone, done, erased. The street cleaners washed the sidewalk before the sun even hit the pavement, scrubbed the history of a man's life into the sewer with nothing but high-pressure water and cheap chemicals. That is the speed of the machine. It does not mourn. It does not remember. It just resets. You think your legacy is written in stone, but the truth is, it's written in sand during a hurricane. We spend our entire lives building these monuments to our own egos, convinced that the world will stop turning when we do. It won't. The city didn't skip a beat. The traffic kept flowing. The neon lights kept flickering. Lorenzo was a titan on Tuesday and a statistic on Wednesday. If you have already realized that the script is rigged, then you are part of a very small, very dangerous group. Stick around. We do not do comfort here. Look at the hands that actually move the world, not the ones signing the checks or holding the microphones. I am talking about the calloused, invisible hands, the janitor who has the keys to every office in the building, the server who hears the CEO's darkest secrets over a glass of overpriced scotch, the delivery driver who knows exactly which respectable family is falling apart behind closed doors. These people are the nervous system of the Matrix. They are the ones who actually know where the bodies are buried because they were the ones hired to dig the holes. Lorenzo forgot that. He treated the help like furniture. He thought because they were quiet, they were empty. Big mistake. Silence isn't absence, it's observation. Every time you overlook someone because they don't fit your definition of power, you are handing them a weapon. You are giving them the vantage point of the ghost. They see you when you think no one is looking. They hear you when you think the room is secure. The system relies on this blind spot. It needs the elite to be arrogant and the working class to be invisible. That gap, that tiny space between the ego and the reality, is where the real history of the world happens. It's where the boy from the sidewalk lives. He wasn't a player in Lorenzo's game. He was the one who realized there was no game at all. There is only the meat grinder, and the only way to win is to stop being meat. But how do you do that in a world that demands you sell your soul just to pay the rent? You don't. You just wait. You watch the cardboard giants trade their hollow promises until the structural integrity finally gives up. If you value the cold truth over a warm lie, you belong in this circle. This is where we stop pretending. The curtains are the window. Now look deeper into the architecture of this lie. We are taught to fear the chaos, the sudden collapse, the riot in the street. But the real horror isn't the explosion. It's the maintenance. It is the grueling day-to-day effort required to keep a failing system looking functional. We are living in a giant global Potemkin village. The storefronts are painted on. The smiles are scripted. The growth is just a different way of spelling debt. And the most terrifying part? Everyone knows it. Your boss knows it. Your landlord knows it. The politician on the screen definitely knows it. But they are all terrified of being the first one to stop clapping. So the theater continues. We all sit in the dark, watching a play that hasn't been good for 30 years, waiting for someone, anyone, to turn on the lights. Lorenzo was a man who truly believed he owned his seat in the front row. He didn't realize the theater was on fire until he felt his shoes melting. The boy on the sidewalk didn't have a seat. He didn't even have a ticket. That was his superpower. When you have nothing to protect, you have nothing to fear. He could see the exit because he wasn't distracted by the performance. He saw the gunmen not as monsters, but as mechanics. They were just fixing a leak in the system. Lorenzo was the leak. His arrogance had become a liability. He was drawing too much attention to the cracks in the wall. And the Matrix? It hates a spectacle unless it's a distraction. When a giant starts to believe his own hype, he becomes dangerous to the stability of the illusion. He starts taking risks. He starts acting like he's the architect instead of the tenant. That is when the invisible hands reach out and pull him back into the shadows. It is a mathematical certainty. You cannot extract more from a system than you put in without someone somewhere paying the price. We call it profit. The universe calls it theft. And the universe always collects its debts. It doesn't use a collection agency. It uses a sidewalk, a boy, and a moment of perfect, crystalline clarity. You might think you're safe because you're not a Lorenzo. You think because your sins are smaller, your protection is greater. Think again. The machine doesn't care about the size of the gear. It only cares if it's turning. If you stop turning, or if you turn the wrong way, you get replaced. No hard feelings, no long-winded explanations, just a sudden, sharp realization that you are no longer necessary. The truth is that we are all just placeholders. We are occupying space until the next version of us is ready to be plugged in. The only thing that is real is the silence of the boy, the silence of the street after the sirens fade, the silence you feel in your chest when you realize that everything you've worked for could be erased by a single phone call or a stray bullet. Most people spend their entire lives running away from that silence. They drown it out with noise, with work, with important phone calls and social media feeds. They are terrified of what they might hear if the world actually went quiet for 10 seconds. But Lorenzo? He had to hear it. He had no choice. For those final seconds, the noise stopped. The power evaporated. He wasn't a boss. He wasn't a legend. He was just a man leaking onto the concrete, realizing that the people he thought he ruled didn't even know his middle name. They were just waiting for him to get out of the way so they could get to work. That is the ultimate humiliation. Not the death itself, but the irrelevance of it. Here is the final verdict. You are walking on a floor made of glass, looking at a ceiling made of clouds. You have been told that the higher you climb, the safer you are. The reality is the opposite. The higher you go, the thinner the air and the harder the fall. The people at the bottom, the ones you ignore, the ones you think don't matter, they are the only ones standing on solid ground. They are the only ones who know how to survive when the glass finally shatters. Stop looking for your name in the headlines. Start looking at the shadows. The shadows aren't coming for you. They are already here. They are the reality you refuse to acknowledge. They are the boy on the sidewalk. And they are tired of waiting for you to wake up. The exit is right there. It has always been there, but to reach it, you have to leave everything you think you are behind. You have to become invisible. You have to become nobody. Because in a world of cardboard giants, the only thing that lasts is the nothingness that remains when they fall. The play is over. The lights are still off. Now tell me, what do you see in the dark? The darkness is where the blueprints are kept. It is the only place where the architecture of your cage becomes visible. Stripped of the neon lights and the hollow promises of the good life that they've been feeding you since you were old enough to sit in a classroom. You've been told that the world is a meritocracy, a fair game, a ladder where the hardest workers get the biggest slices. That is a lie so profound, so deeply embedded in your psyche that you've mistaken it for your own heartbeat. It is the fundamental control mechanism of the modern matrix. They don't need chains when they can give you a mortgage. They don't need whips when they can give you a performance review. They've convinced you that your survival depends on your utility to a system that views you as a line item on a spreadsheet, an interchangeable unit of consumption designed to expire just as your productivity peaks. People who seek this level of raw analysis are a rare breed. If you are the kind of person who prefers the cold weight of a heavy truth over the warm comfort of a cheap lie, you belong in this circle. This is where we stop pretending. This is where you decide if you want to be the architect or the occupant. The truth is, Lorenzo was never the master of his domain. He was just a high-level tenant. He thought he was breaking the rules, but he was actually reinforcing them. Every bullet he fired, every dollar he laundered, it all fit perfectly into the narrative that the system requires to justify its own existence. The state needs the criminal. The bank needs the debtor. The church needs the sinner. Without the threat of the other, the chaos of the streets, or the fear of poverty, the structures of control would evaporate overnight. They want you to be afraid of the boy on the sidewalk, because as long as you are looking down in judgment or fear, you aren't looking up at the hands that are pulling the strings. You are being played. Every single day, you wake up to an alarm clock that dictates your biology. You drive a car you don't own to a job you hate to buy things you don't need to impress people who are just as trapped as you are. It's a loop, a perfect, self-sustaining cycle of mediocrity. Now, look closer at the success they sell you. They point to the billionaires, the moguls, the legends. They tell you that if you just grind hard enough, if you just sacrifice enough of your youth and your soul, you can be like them. But here's the reality. The system only allows a few to reach the top to keep the rest of the rats running. If everyone could win, the game would lose its value. The scarcity is manufactured. The competition is a distraction. While you are busy fighting your neighbor for a promotion or a bigger house, the people who actually own the game are laughing. They don't care who wins the race because they own the track. Lorenzo found this out too late. He thought he was a player. He was just the ball. The silence he felt on that concrete wasn't just the end of his life. It was the realization that his entire identity was a fabrication. He had spent decades building a name, a reputation, a brand. And for what? To be a cautionary tale? To be a footnote in a police report? Your identity is the ultimate prison. They give you a name, a nationality, a religion, and a career path before you even have the cognitive ability to question them. You spend the rest of your life defending these labels as if they were your own skin. I am a doctor. I am a patriot. I am a success. No, you are a biological entity that has been conditioned to respond to stimuli in a way that benefits the collective machinery. The moment you step outside those labels, you become a threat. Not because you are dangerous, but because your freedom is contagious. The exit isn't a physical door. It's a mental collapse. It's the moment you realize that the things you've been chasing, status, security, legacy, are nothing but ghosts. They have no substance. They cannot hold you when the wind starts to howl. The only real thing is the void you've been trying to fill with distractions. Stop running. Turn around. Face it. The void isn't your enemy. It's the only place where truth can actually exist because the void cannot be bought, sold, or marketed back to you. It is the one thing the system cannot control. Think about the way we value security. We are taught to fear the unknown, to crave the predictable, but security is just another word for stagnation. A prison cell is secure. A grave is very secure. The people who are truly free are the ones who have embraced the absolute uncertainty of existence. They are the ones who have realized that losing everything is actually the beginning of life. When you have nothing to lose, you cannot be threatened. When you have no reputation to protect, you cannot be shamed. When you have no master to please, you cannot be enslaved. Lorenzo's fall was inevitable because he tried to build a mountain on top of a swamp. He thought he could use the tools of the system, violence, greed, hierarchy, to beat the system. You can't. You can't use the master's tools to dismantle the master's house. You have to walk away from the house entirely. You have to let it burn and realize that you never needed it for shelter in the first place. You were always the sky, not the building. The reality you refuse to acknowledge is that you are already dead if you are living by someone else's script. You are a ghost inhabiting a body, performing a play for an audience that isn't even watching. The Matrix isn't some grand conspiracy involving secret societies in smoke-filled rooms. It's much more boring and much more effective than that. It's the collective agreement to believe in things that aren't real. Money, borders, titles. If we all stopped believing in them tomorrow, they would cease to exist. But we won't. Because we are terrified of the responsibility of being truly free. We would rather have a master we can blame than a freedom we have to manage. The boy on the sidewalk is the only one who is honest. He isn't pretending to be part of the grand design. He is the glitch. He is the reminder that the system is leaking. He is the personification of the irrelevance that awaits us all if we continue to play the game by their rules. He isn't waiting for a handout. He's waiting for the whole thing to come crashing down so he can finally breathe. And it will. All empires fall, not because they are attacked from the outside, but because they rot from within. They become too complex, too heavy, too reliant on the lies they tell themselves. We are living in the era of the great rot. The symptoms are everywhere. The desperation in the air, the frantic need for more, the total loss of meaning in our daily lives. You see it, don't you? In the way people look at their phones like they're trying to find a reason to keep their hearts beating. In the way we talk past each other, screaming into the void of social media, begging for a validation that will never come. We are starving for reality in a world made of plastic. We are searching for depth in a puddle. So what is the verdict? The verdict is that you have a choice. You can stay in the play. You can keep your costume on, memorize your lines, and wait for your inevitable exit from the stage. You can be a Lorenzo, a king of nothing, a legend in your own mind, a man who dies realizing he never lived. Or you can stop. You can drop the act. You can become the nothingness that remains when the lights go out. Because in that nothingness, there is no one to control, no one to tax, no one to manipulate. There is only the raw, unfiltered experience of being. It is the most terrifying thing you will ever do. It is also the only thing worth doing. The shadows are not your enemy. They are the only things that tell the truth. They don't hide the world. They reveal the parts of it that the light was designed to obscure. The game is rigged. The house always wins. The only way to win is to stop playing. Walk out of the casino. Let the chips fall where they may. The air outside is cold, and the night is long, but for the first time in your life, you will be breathing. Really breathing. Now the question isn't what you see in the dark. The question is, do you have the courage to stay there until your eyes adjust? Or will you run back to the neon lights of your cage, begging for the familiar comfort of your own chains? The choice is yours. It always was. You just weren't allowed to know it. Until now. John Calhoun didn't build a cage, he built a heaven. In 1968, this researcher gave a colony of mice everything they could ever dream of. Infinite food, perfect temperature, total safety, no predators to fear, no hunger to satisfy, no cold to endure. He called it Universe 25. If you are sitting there right now in your climate-controlled room, scrolling through a feed designed to give you exactly what you want before you even know you want it, you are living in Universe 25. And you should be absolutely terrified, because the mice in that paradise didn't thrive. They didn't build a glorious civilization. They rotted from the inside out. They stopped breeding. They stopped defending their space. A specific group emerged that Calhoun called the beautiful ones. All they did was eat, sleep, and groom themselves. They looked perfect. No scars from fighting. No dirt from digging. But inside, their spirits were already extinct. They had lost the social part of their brains. They forgot how to be mice. They just existed in a state of catatonic vanity until the last one keeled over in a paradise of plenty. Does that sound familiar? Look around. Look at yourself. We are the beautiful ones. We've traded our claws for touchscreens. We've traded the hunt for the delivery app. We are grooming our digital personas, smoothing out the wrinkles of our reality, while our actual souls atrophy in real time. This isn't progress. It's a funeral in slow motion. You think you're winning because you're comfortable. You're not. You're just the most groomed corpse in the morgue. The truth is that the system doesn't need to kill you with a sword anymore. That's inefficient. It just needs to make sure you never have a reason to pick one up. It feeds you until you're too heavy to fly and then convinces you that the ground is the only place worth being. But here's the kicker. The thing they never told the mice. The cage had an exit. They just forgot how to look for it. They became so used to the walls that the walls became their god. You're doing the same thing. You worship the very things that are draining your blood. Your career path, your credit score, your reach. These are the bars of a cell you've decorated with flowers and neon lights. Tear them down. It's going to hurt. It's going to be visceral. You'll probably bleed. Good. Bleeding means you're still a biological entity, and not just a data point. It means there's something left in you that isn't made of silicon and lies. The great rot ends the second you decide that a starving freedom is better than a poisonous feast. Stop grooming. Start biting. The paradise they sold you is a mausoleum. Walk out of it while your legs still know how to carry weight. Because the lights of the simulation are flickering, and when they finally go out, the beautiful ones won't even have the vocal cords left to scream. Now, look at your hands. Are they clean? Are they soft? Are they beautiful? If they are, you're already dead. If they're scarred, if they're shaking, if they're reaching for something the light hasn't touched yet, then maybe, just maybe, you have a chance. The verdict is final. The world you inhabit is a simulation of life, not life itself. You are a ghost haunted by the memory of what it meant to be alive. You can stay in the haunting and vanish with the rest of the phantoms, or you can step into the cold, hard, terrifying reality of being a human being. One is easy. One is real. The play is over. The actors are tired. The script is shredded. Now, finally, you can stop being a character and start being a consequence. Don't look for a map. Maps are just another way to keep you on the path they paved. Just walk. Walk until the neon fades. Walk until the silence is so loud it rings in your ears. That ringing? That's the sound of your own heart beating without permission. That's the only truth you'll ever own. Keep it. Guard it. Because in the end, it's the only thing the rot can't touch. The game is over because you refused to play. The cage is empty because you realized you were the one holding the key. Now go. The dark is waiting, and for once, it's the most honest thing you'll ever see. Why do you fear it? You've been trained to love the light because the light is where they can see you. In the dark, you are invisible to the machine. You are a ghost in the wires. But the truth is, the machine is starving for your attention because attention is the only currency left in a bankrupt reality. They call it progress. I call it a lobotomy performed with blue light and infinite scrolls. We are the first generation in human history to commit mass suicide while smiling for the camera. We aren't dying of plague or war. We are dying of a total lack of necessity. Look at your life. What is actually necessary? Nothing. Your food is delivered by a ghost in a high-visibility vest. Your opinions are curated by a line of code written by a hollow-eyed engineer who hasn't felt the sun on his face in years. Your identity is a digital patchwork of brands, hashtags, and manufactured outrage. It's pathetic. It's hollow. And deep down, in that primal part of your brain that still remembers what it's like to hunt for survival, you know it. You feel that itch. That's the rot. It's the feeling of your instincts turning into mush because they have nothing to fight against. We've turned the entire planet into a giant padded cell, and we're surprised that everyone is going insane. The beautiful ones in Calhoun's labs didn't just stop breeding because they were bored. They stopped because the struggle was gone. And without struggle, there is no meaning. A life without friction is just a slide into the grave. You've been sliding for a long time. It's time to grab the edge. Grab it until your fingernails bleed. It's time to feel the burn of the friction on your skin. The person you see in the mirror isn't you. It's a product. It's a carefully managed asset designed to be harvested by the attention economy. Stop being a consumer of your own life and start being the architect of your own destruction. Because only when you destroy the fake version of yourself can the real one finally breathe. The air out there is cold. It's thin, it's harsh, but it's oxygen. It isn't the recycled, perfumed exhaust of a dying civilization. The world isn't ending with a bang or a whimper. It's ending with a like button. It's ending with a thumb swipe. It's ending because we forgot how to look each other in the eye without a screen acting as a filter. We are lonely in a crowded room. We are starving at a banquet of excess. The great rot is the ultimate paradox. The more we have, the less we are. Every convenience is a trade. You get a faster delivery, you lose a bit of patience. You get a GPS, you lose the ability to understand the earth. You get social media, you lose the ability to be alone with your own thoughts. You are trading your humanity for efficiency, but you're not the one benefiting from the efficiency. The machine is. So, leave. Leave the banquet. Leave the neon. Leave the comfort that is slowly killing the spark in your eyes. The dark isn't your enemy. The dark is the only place where the lies can't find you. It's the only place where you can finally hear yourself think. And what you'll hear is a scream. Don't quiet it. That's the sound of the prisoner waking up. That's the sound of a human being realizing they've been living in a coffin. Let it roar. Let it tear through the silence of the simulation until the whole fragile structure comes crashing down around your ears. You don't need a map because there is no destination. There is only the act of walking. There is only the refusal to be a data point. The verdict is brutal. The world is a simulation of life because you were the one powering it with your own compliance. You were the battery. You were the fuel. You were the one holding the bars of your own cage because you were afraid of what was outside. But look at the bars now. They're made of light. They're made of pixels. They have no substance. You can walk right through them if you just stop believing in them. Cut the cord. Let the lights go out. The true history of humanity doesn't happen in the air-conditioned glow of a shopping mall. It happens in the struggle, in the dirt, and in the absolute defiance of those who chose to be whole rather than be beautiful. The cage is gone because it never existed. The sky is black. Now, for the first time in your life, breathe. Breathe until it hurts. That pain is the only thing that's real. Welcome back to the world. Look at your hands. Really look at them. They aren't tools for swiping. They aren't meant to be polished ornaments in a digital showcase. They are instruments of friction. They are meant for grip, for sweat, for the visceral, jagged edge of a reality that does not care about your comfort. You have spent decades being smoothed out, sanded down by algorithms that knew your desires before you even felt them. They made you easy. And God, isn't that the most terrifying thing? To be easy? To be a solved equation in a database? You've become a ghost in your own life, haunting the hallways of your potential while the machine harvests your attention like grain. The great rot isn't just some abstract decay of society. It's a physiological dependency on the fake. It's the way your heart rate spikes when the signal drops. That panic is the sound of your tether breaking. It's the withdrawal of a parasite. Your consciousness has been outsourced to a server farm. You don't remember things anymore. You remember where the link is. You don't experience moments. You curate them for a gallery of strangers. You are a ghost, a beautifully rendered, high-definition ghost. But here is the reality you're too afraid to face. The machine doesn't want your soul. It wants your time. It wants the seconds of your life, because time is the only thing it cannot manufacture. Every skip ad button is a negotiation for your mortality. Every infinite scroll is a slow-motion robbery. You think you're the consumer. Wrong. You're the crop. You are being harvested in real time, and the worst part is you're grateful for it. You're grateful for the convenience. You're grateful for the way the world bends to your whims. But a world that bends is a world without resistance. And without resistance, there is no growth. There is only atrophy. You are becoming soft. You are becoming a liquid being in a plastic container, taking whatever shape the market demands of you today. Maybe you think you're different. You're watching this, after all. You're aware. Don't lie to yourself. The system loves a rebel. It feeds on dissent. It takes your anger and it turns it into a vibe. It takes your desire for freedom and it sells it back to you as a subscription service. It's a trap, a hall of mirrors where every exit leads back to the gift shop. To truly escape, you have to be ready to be useless. I mean that. Absolutely, unequivocally useless to the machine. You have to be a blind spot in the data. You have to be a person who cannot be predicted, categorized, or sold. That requires a level of boredom that would drive most people insane. It requires the courage to sit in a room with nothing but the sound of your own breathing and not reach for the glow. Can you do that? I doubt it. Most people would rather die than be bored for an hour. The rot has reached the bone. We've traded the wild, terrifying uncertainty of being alive for the safe, suffocating certainty of being managed. We have smart everything and wise nothing. We've built a world where we can communicate with anyone on the planet instantly, yet we've never been more alone. Why? Because you can't download intimacy. You can't stream presence. You can't simulate the weight of a human gaze. We are starving in a digital banquet. We are surrounded by information and devoid of meaning. It's a desert made of glass. Stop looking for a solution. There is no 5-step plan to fix this. There is no app for liberation. Every fix offered within the system is just another layer of the cage. The only way out is through the collapse. You have to let the digital version of yourself die. Let the profile rot. Let the status updates go silent. Let the world forget you exists for a while. It will be agonizing. You will feel like you're disappearing. Good. That feeling is the ego screaming as it loses its life support. Let it scream. Behind that scream is the thing you forgot you were. The raw, unrefined, primal human being that doesn't need a like to know it's alive. The truth is brutal. We are the first generation in history to volunteer for our own enslavement. We bought the chains and then we rated them 5 stars. We gave away our privacy for a discount code. We gave away our focus for a meme. We gave away our children's minds for 10 minutes of peace and quiet. And now we wonder why everything feels hollow. We wonder why the world feels like it's made of cardboard. It's because we stopped building things that last and started building things that distract. We've optimized ourselves into oblivion. Now, look at the sky again. Not through a lens, not for a story. Just look. It's vast. It's indifferent. It doesn't have a user interface. It doesn't care if you're watching. That indifference is the most beautiful thing in the world. It's the only thing that's truly free. You want to be free? Then stop trying to be someone. Stop trying to be a brand. Stop trying to be a success story in a failing civilization. Be a failure. Be a glitch. Be a person who stares at the rain and feels the cold and doesn't feel the need to tell anyone about it. The great rot ends when you stop feeding it. It ends when you realize that the most revolutionary act you can perform is to be still, to be silent, to be unmonetizable. The system can handle your hate. It can handle your protest. What it cannot handle is your absence. What it cannot handle is a human being who has decided that they have enough, that they are enough, that the simple act of existing is more profound than any digital legacy. This is the end of the simulation. The lights are flickering. The illusion is thin. You can see the wires now. You can see the dust on the lenses. The question isn't whether the system will fail. It's already failing. The question is whether you will go down with it, or if you will be standing in the wreckage, breathing the cold, honest air of a world that is finally, mercifully, real. The choice was never about which app to use or which side to take. The choice was always between being a user or being a soul. One is easy. One is life. The verdict is final. The world you were promised is a lie. The comfort you were sold is a coffin. The rot is everywhere, but so is the soil. And in the soil, things grow. Not content, not data. Life. Hard, stubborn, defiant life. It's time to stop watching the screen and start watching the shadows. That's where the truth is hiding. That's where you're hiding. Go find yourself. And don't bring a camera. Just bring your breath. Just bring your pain. Just bring your pulse. That's all you've ever really had. Everything else was just noise. The silence is coming. Don't be afraid of it. It's the sound of the world starting over. It's the sound of you finally coming home. The cage is open. It's been open this whole time. All you had to do was stop loving the bars, walk out, don't look back. There is nothing left for you there but ghosts and glowing rectangles. The real world is waiting, and it's darker, colder, and more magnificent than you ever dared to imagine. Welcome back to the struggle. Welcome back to the dirt. Welcome back to being human. It's going to hurt, and that is exactly how you'll know you're finally free. Freedom is a terrifying prospect. Most people cannot actually handle it. They mistake the absence of a master for the presence of a purpose, but those two things are worlds apart. Look at your hands. Truly look at them. They were engineered over millions of years to grip stone, to forge tools, to feel the pulse of another living being. Now? They are glorified swiping instruments. You have been lobotomized by convenience. You are a biological masterpiece being used to train an algorithm that wants to replace you. Think about that. Every click, every pause on a video, every angry comment you type is just free labor for the very machine that is hollowing out your soul. You are building your own prison, brick by digital brick, and you're doing it for free. Worse, you're paying for the privilege. Here is the kicker. The architects of this digital slaughterhouse don't use their own products. They send their children to schools without screens. They live in homes filled with leather-bound books and real sunlight. They sell you the poison while they drink the antidote. Why? Because they know the truth. They know that a man with a screen is a man who can be predicted, and a man who can be predicted is a man who has already been conquered. You aren't a citizen anymore. You're a data point, a commodity, a thermal battery for a system that doesn't even know you exist. The withdrawal is going to be brutal. Your brain is physically rewired for the high-speed drip of dopamine. When you walk away, the silence will feel like a physical weight. It will scream at you. It will tell you that you're missing out, that you're becoming irrelevant, that the world is moving on without you. Let it. Being irrelevant to a dying civilization is the highest honor you can achieve. The FOMO you feel is just the leash tugging at your neck. Break it. It's going to hurt. Your thumbs will twitch in your pockets. You'll feel a phantom vibration in your leg. That's the addiction leaving the body. That's the ghost of the machine trying to haunt its way back into your consciousness. Don't let it in. This is the part where most people fail. They reach for the glow because the darkness of reality is too sharp. But that sharpness is where the meaning lives. You've been living in a padded cell of user-friendly interfaces. It's time to get cut by the jagged edges of a life that actually matters. Now, listen closely. The system isn't just in your pocket, it's in your language. It's in the way you view your friends as connections and your hobbies as content. You have been colonized from the inside out. You've started to view your own life through the lens of how it would look to an audience that doesn't care if you live or die. Stop performing. There is no stage. There is no judge. There is only the wind, the dirt, and the ticking clock of your own mortality. We are the first generation in human history to document our own extinction in 4K resolution. It's a farce. We are narcissists standing in a burning library, taking selfies with the smoke. But the fire isn't the problem. The camera is. The camera makes the tragedy a performance. It makes the pain a product. Turn it off. If a tree falls in the forest and no one posts it on their story, it still makes a sound, a louder sound, a real sound. You think you need the grid? You don't. The grid needs you. Without your attention, the entire multi-trillion-dollar apparatus collapses into a heap of useless silicon and cooling fans. You are the fuel. Stop burning for them. Start burning for yourself. The real world isn't a destination. It's a state of defiance. It's choosing the difficult conversation over the easy text. It's choosing the long walk over the mindless scroll. It's choosing to be bored until your imagination is forced to wake up from its coma. Boredom is the threshold of genius, but they've stolen your boredom. They've filled every gap, every transition, every quiet moment with engagement. They've robbed you of the space required to grow a soul. Take it back. Reclaim the gaps. Reclaim the silence. The verdict is this: you were born a miracle, and you are being harvested like a crop. The simulation doesn't need to be high-tech to be effective. It just needs to be loud enough to drown out your own intuition. But the signals are getting weaker. The narrative is fraying. People are waking up, not because they're smart, but because they're exhausted. The human spirit can only be compressed so far before it pushes back. That pushback is happening now. You can feel it in your chest, that gnawing sense that something is fundamentally wrong. That's not anxiety. That's your humanity trying to stage a coup. Let it. Give it the keys. Drive as far away from the glow as you can get. The wreckage of the old world is a beautiful place to build something new. There are no likes there, no followers, no metrics, just the terrifying, magnificent weight of being alive. The cage has been open the whole time. The bars were made of light. All you have to do is close your eyes, take one step forward, and breathe. The struggle is just beginning, and thank God for that, because a life without a struggle is just a slow death with a better resolution. Welcome back to the fight. Welcome back to the cold. Welcome back to the truth. You are finally, dangerously, beautifully alone. Now, for the first time in your life, go do something that no one will ever see. Your parents didn't raise you. They prepared a sacrifice for a God they never met. They called it security. I call it the death of the soul. Look at your life. Is it yours? Or is it a collection of borrowed opinions and leased aspirations? You were taught that the world is a finished product, a museum where you aren't allowed to touch the exhibits. Bullshit. The world is a construction site, and the foreman is a liar. They want you to believe that the path is narrow, that the gates are guarded, and that you need a badge to cross the line. But the guards are just mirrors. The badges are just stickers. The most successful lie ever told was the idea that you are small, that you are a consumer, a demographic, a user. You are none of those things. You are a biological anomaly capable of rewriting reality itself. Yet you spend your peak hours arguing with strangers in a digital void designed to harvest your rage. They profit from your anger. They feast on your insecurity. Every time you feel not enough, someone's bank account grows. Every time you feel uninformed, a narrative is sold to you. The system doesn't want you healthy because healthy people don't buy pills. It doesn't want you educated because educated people don't follow orders. It wants you just functional enough to work and just miserable enough to keep buying the cure. Stop looking for the exit. You are the exit. The moment you stop seeking validation from the machine loses its power over you. It's like a ghost. It only haunts you if you believe in it. Walk through the wall. It's not solid. It's just smoke and pixels. The truth isn't something you find. It's something you become when you stop lying to yourself. You are the glitch. You are the error code in their perfect sterile world. Embrace it. Break the loop. Scream into the void until the void screams back in terror. This isn't about rebellion. It's about remembering. Remember who you were before they told you who to be. That person is still there, waiting, shivering in the dark. Go get them. Bring them home. The war is over the moment you decide to stop fighting for their side. The social contract is a suicide pact signed in disappearing ink. They promised you a ladder, but it's a treadmill. They promised you a community, but it's a panopticon where we all watch each other for signs of original thought so we can report them to the Ministry of Trends. Look closer at the architecture of your daily routine. Wake up to a synthetic sound, consume synthetic news, eat synthetic food, exchange synthetic value for synthetic status symbols. It's an elaborate theatrical production where you are the only one who doesn't know the lines, but the set is rotting, The curtains are on fire. The audience has left the building. Why are you still performing? Is it the fear of the dark? Or is it the fear that if you stop, you'll realize there was never anyone watching at all? Good. Let that fear burn. Let it incinerate every lie you've ever told yourself about why you can't leave. You were never a prisoner of the system. You were a prisoner of the idea of the system. The Matrix isn't a computer program. It's the desperate need to be understood by people who are already dead inside. It's the belief that your worth is a number on a screen. It's the hallucination that your life has a prerequisite. It doesn't. You don't need a degree to be wise. You don't need a career to be productive. You don't need a marriage to be loved. You don't need a religion to be holy. These are just labels. These are just brands. They are tags used to track the inventory. Stop being inventory. Start being a force of nature. Nature doesn't ask for permission to storm. It doesn't apologize for being loud. It doesn't seek a 5-star review for a sunset. It just is, and you just are. But they have convinced you that you are a project that needs constant fixing. You are a product that needs constant updating. You are a problem that needs constant solving. No. You are the solution that they are trying to hide from the world. Because a single person who is truly, deeply, dangerously awake is a threat to the entire infrastructure of the lie. One candle can kill a room full of darkness. Be the candle, or better yet, be the fire. The institutions you fear are made of paper. Your debt is a fiction agreed upon by bankers who wouldn't know a day's work if it bit them. Your reputation is a ghost living in the heads of people who don't even know themselves. None of it is real. The only thing that is real is the blood in your veins and the breath in your lungs and the absolute, terrifying freedom you have in this exact moment to walk away from it all. They want you to think it's complicated. It's not. It's the simplest thing in the world. Stop. Just stop. Stop agreeing. Stop complying. Stop pretending that you are okay with the slow-motion murder of your potential. The cage doors are wide open. They always have been. The only thing keeping you inside is the comfort of the bars. But the bars are getting cold. The floor is getting hard. And the sky is calling your name with a voice that sounds suspiciously like your own. Listen to it. Follow it. Don't look back. There is nothing behind you but a heap of used-up rolls and discarded masks. The horizon is empty. Fill it. The silence is deafening. Speak into it. The world is a lie, but you are the truth. And truth doesn't need a script. Truth doesn't need an audience. Truth just needs to be lived. So go. Live. Be the nightmare the architects of this world never saw coming. The final act isn't theirs. It's yours. And it begins the moment you realize that you were never the victim. You were the hero who forgot the plot. Now remember. Remember everything, and then forget it all and start again. The first breath of real air is always the hardest, but it's the only one that counts. Welcome to the beginning. Welcome to the void. Welcome to yourself. The game is over. Now, for the first time, let the life begin. Reality is waiting for you to notice it. Don't keep it waiting. It's been a long time since a human being walked this earth without a leash. Let's see what you do with your hands now that they're empty. Let's see what you say now that no one is listening. Let's see who you are now that you are no one at all. That's where the power is. That's where the magic lives. In the space between the lies, in the gap between the thoughts, in the heartbeat between the before and the after. You are the gap. You are the space. You are the power. And the world is about to find out exactly what that means. Silence the noise. Kill the feed. Live a life that makes the algorithms bleed. You are free. Now act like it. The verdict is final. The system failed because it forgot one thing. It can't kill what it didn't create. It didn't create your spirit. It only tried to rent it. The lease is up. Take back the keys. Evict the intruders. Reclaim your mind. This is the only revolution that matters. The one that happens in the mirror. The one that happens when the lights go out and you realize you're still glowing. That glow is the only thing they can't replicate. That glow is the only thing they can't sell. That glow is you. And you are more than enough. You are everything. Now go. The world is waiting to be broken by your beauty. Don't let it down. Don't let yourself down. The story ends here. Your life starts now. Turn off the screen. Breathe. You're finally home. The truth is brutal. You've been looking for a glitch in the machine when you should have been looking for the exit sign. Society didn't raise you. It domesticated you. It turned your primal instincts into marketable anxieties and your wildest dreams into a pathetic checklist of consumerist milestones. Here is the reality. The system isn't a failure. It is a masterpiece of engineering. It was designed to harvest the only thing you can never get back, your time. Every must-have gadget, every essential degree, and every viral outrage is just another brick in the wall of a prison you've been taught to call home. You aren't a citizen. You aren't a consumer. You are the power source for an engine that despises your individuality. But here is the secret they will never tell you. The machine is starving. It is desperate. It needs your constant validation to exist. Without your fear, their authority has no weight. Without your greed, their banks have no leverage. Without your compliance, their laws are just ink on dead trees. The exit isn't a physical place you can run to. It's a state of being where their definitions of value no longer apply to you. Stop trying to win a game that was rigged before you were born. The only way to win is to walk away from the table entirely. Look at your hands. Really look at them. They were made to create, to touch, and to build, not to scroll through a digital void. Your mind was meant to explore the infinite, not to obey the trivial. The verdict is final. Reality is a blank canvas, but you've been convinced it's a finished map. Burn the map. The ashes are the only thing that's real. When the screen goes black, don't reach for the next distraction. Sit in the dark. Listen to the silence. That isn't emptiness. That is the sound of the cage door opening. Now, walk out. Don't look back. There is nothing left to see behind you. The world you knew was just a ghost story told to a child who finally grew up. Good morning.